Well, I want to start by saying, sometimes life can be difficult, and I feel like I could probably start almost every sermon with that phrase. Sometimes life can be difficult. But right now, after the holidays, our work expectations tend to pick up, and then school assignments build up, and they hang over your head all day. And then, of course, there's those post-holiday credit card bills that start coming in, and then your car starts making funny noises. And sometimes it seems like there's just too much, and you can't keep up with it all. And then you've got this hanging over your head, and you're listening to the scriptures thinking, oh, great, now there's more stuff that I should be doing better than I'm doing. But you can relax, because Jesus is not asking you to do anything else. He's really just asking you to be yourself, because God knows that you are amazing. And you might be more influential than you give yourself credit for. Jesus said, you are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. Here he's sitting on the side of a mountain, and he's offering a group of followers this new vision of who they are and who their Creator knows them to be. The scene begins with Jesus traveling throughout Galilee, and he's proclaiming this great news of God's kingdom, and he's curing diseases and sicknesses among people. And then the word gets out, and they have brought to him all the sick and those who are afflicted with different diseases, and those in pain, and epileptics and paralytics, and great crowds are following him. So these are the people that he's talking to. These are the people that these words are addressed to. People who were, cast off and felt rejected. People who were believed by those in power to be, not worthy of attention. As we heard last week, Jesus told this group of people that blessed are the poor. Blessed are those who are mourning. Blessed are the meek and the persecuted, the hungry and the sick and the frightened. He's not praising people for already having their act together. He's talking to people who are struggling through getting through the next day. You, he told them, you are the salt of the earth. You who don't have your life under control, and I know you're not maybe the best fed or the best dressed, and I understand you feel rejected and wounded and forgotten, and here I'm telling you that you are essential. You are worthwhile. You are treasured. Notice he didn't say here, try harder to be like salt. He didn't say, try harder to be like light. He said, you're already salt, you're already light, and this is really good stuff. And it's probably more important than we give credit in our time and our place. In the ancient world, in Hebrew scripture, salt is this amazing, necessary resource. Not only does it add flavor to your food, it preserves foods like meat and fish from spoiling, and that was essential before the invention of refrigeration. Salt helps purify and cleanse meats, actually through the removal of blood, and blood was forbidden to be eaten in the Torah, so that was important. We know that salt helps in healing, like healing sore throats. Mark Kurlansky has written a whole book on salt, so if you're excited about salt, there's a book that you can read. Salt, a world history. From the beginning of civilization until 100 years ago, salt was one of the most sought-after commodities in human history. Ancient people believed the salt could ward off evil spirits. Salt was medicine. It was used to disinfect wounds and to stop bleeding and to treat skin diseases. Roman soldiers were sometimes paid in salt, which is where we get our word salary, things we didn't know. But now in our culture of plenty, we tend to take household items like salt for granted. We still use salt for a lot of things. We use salt to improve the flavor of our food, and we use salt to melt ice in the streets and the sidewalks. It soothes sore throats, it rinses out sinuses, it eases swellings in the muscles, it cleanses wounds. Then uses were more likely the reason that in ancient times salt was often used to seal a covenant. When people were signing a covenant between themselves, when the people of Israel signed a covenant with God, they used salt to seal that covenant because it was so essential. And then Jesus says, you are the salt of the earth. Now he throws in there, but if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? Which is actually funny because salt can't lose its saltiness. If you think about it, you can grind it up, you can crush it, you can bake it into something, you can dissolve it in water and then evaporate the water, and you still have salt. So that means you are salt. You are the salt of the earth, and you're always going to be that. So you can't lose your flavor. You will never lose your ability to heal. Now, your saltiness can be wasted, but it is always a part of who you are. So if that's true, we also know that, well, if we don't have enough salt in our bodies, we're going to die. It's that essential to our being. Now, we also know if we have too much salt, we might also die. So it is needed to enhance life. It is not intended to dominate whatever it is connected to. We might think that's a symbolic tragedy of our Christian history, is to understand the distinction between enhancing life, dominating life. Salt fails to accomplish its purpose if it dominates. Instead of eliciting the goodness out of something, it can destroy the potential around it. If it's poured out without discretion, it can leave the ground burnt and plants shriveled. It is intended to enhance. We are the salt of the earth. We can enhance or we can overwhelm. We can soothe or we can irritate. We can preserve or we could ruin something. But if we are the salt of the earth, we have the ability to enhance and improve life around us. We don't need to force our ideas or our beliefs or our plans on others. You only need to be your honest, open, growing self in all of your relationships. Remembering that salt can't improve the flavor of your food unless, you mix it in with the food. Salt can't heal a wound or soothe a sore throat unless it touches that wound, unless we take it in. Salt does its best work when it is poured out, when it dissolves into whatever is around it. It's meant to share in that unique flavor in order to bring out the best in whatever it touches. Which means that if we want to enhance and enliven, deepen, and preserve the world we live in, we must not hide our gift, this gift of ourself, of who we are. We need to connect it with those around us and connect with our world. And the same is true of light. Jesus said, "You are the light of the world, and a city built on a hill cannot be hid, and no one after lighting a lamp puts it under a bushel, but you put it on the lampstand to lighten the house. So let your light shine before others." A light cannot guide anyone through the dark if it's hidden. Your flashlight is useless if it's still inside the box. Jesus is telling people who think that they're not enough, that they are more than enough. They and we have the power to bring healing, to enhance the flavor, the experience of love and joy in life as we interact with those around us. So you don't have to try harder. You just have to be yourself, because you are already loving and caring. I certainly know that about the people in this room, and God knows that about each of you. You are fun to be with, whether you've been told that you're too quiet or you're too loud. You are a healing presence, whether you're bringing, a Band-Aid and some alcohol, whether you're listening to your friend vent about their no good, terrible, very bad day. Your words of encouragement can cleanse the wounds of someone else's past. We are salt and we are light. Whether you want to be or not, whether you are intentional about it or not, we do spiritually impact the world we live in. You are salt, so where can you heal and preserve and add flavor to life? You are light. Where can you light the way for others? Maybe with your poetry, with your art, maybe with the skills that you have developed over years of school and work. Maybe with your song and prayer and marching to advocate for the rights of others, but mostly by being your imperfect, always growing, compassionate, and creative self. I love these words that we find in Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, because here he is making concrete, making clear God's message of love and compassion and healing and justice for all.